Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sumayya Hassan. Welcome to Aspire. In today's session, I would like us to talk about some common interview questions. You've applied for the job, you've been called for the interview. What are some of the common questions you should anticipate? Remember, you should prepare for your interview. Don't just walk in there. I don't know what they'll ask me. I'll find out when I go. No. Yes, you will find out when you go. However, there are some things you can prepare to help yourself succeed in your interview. And some of these are very common questions that you will find in almost every job interview in one format or another. It may be asked in a different way, but essentially, this is what they are looking for. Number one, tell me about yourself. This is a very common question that you'll be asked in many interviews. Now, when your employer, potential future employer, is asking you, tell me about yourself, they're not telling you, repeat your CV. That's not what they are telling you. So you pull it out. This is the nursery school I went to. And then I went to this primary. And then, really? You think that's what your employer wants to know? No. What you need to assume is that the reason they've called you for the interview is because they've gone through your application and your CV. So now you want to only highlight the bits in there that are very relevant to that particular employer. And remember, the bits about your life that they're interested in are the ones that make them think they want you to join them. So tell your story with the job in mind. There are many different ways of doing this. There could be a specific achievement that you have in your CV and you want to highlight it in a snapshot, and then you focus on that because it shows the skills that you believe are needed for that job, and this reflects how you have those skills. The other thing you could do as well, you can take a bit of a risk here. Again, read the body language, understand, look at the room around you. You can tell a personal story. When somebody says, tell me about yourself. I have climbed every mountain that is there in my continent. The only mountain I haven't climbed is Everest, and I have planned, inshallah, within the next 9 months, that's my target. Really? Now, you have said nothing about your CV, but how interesting do you sound? The employer is thinking, wow, really? Why? So it starts a conversation, and that's what you want. You want the conversation to get going. You want the employer to want to know more about you. Why do you go around climbing mountains? I love the challenge. I love the preparation I need to put into it, the physical stamina that I need, and being on top there with the world at my feet, the view, the teamwork that I need, because I have to work with the guides, I have to work with the others. And when I come down, the sense of achievement at having fulfilled my task, it just energizes me for the next round. Now, what are you telling your boss there, your future boss? You're telling them about your preparation, you're telling them about planning, you're telling them about teamwork, you're telling them about your leadership skills. You have told them about your resilience, ability to handle challenges, because climbing mountains is not easy. So, prepare for this question. Tell me about yourself, make it interesting. What you don't want is to bore the interview panel from the first question. There are interviews, I kid you not, where the interviewers fall asleep at the first question because your answer is so boring. And the interviewer decides, you know what, we just don't need to bother with this one, Either they will end the interview within a few minutes of you starting, or they'll just sleep. I have actually seen people sleep in an interview. And you almost want to nudge them and say, okay, this is a bit rude. The candidate feels very bad about you falling asleep. And the interviewer thinks, well, the candidate is boring, and they should appreciate that from my posture. So Be interesting. Prepare an interesting answer to this question. Tell me about yourself. The other question that prepare to be asked, what is your salary expectation? Now, there are people who don't prepare for this question, and therefore they don't know what to ask. They look flustered, they break into a sweat, they get fidgety and they shift in. Really? Were you planning to work for free? So why are you surprised that you're being asked about your salary expectation? Prepare. Do your research, understand the market for somebody, with your skills, with your experience. Don't undersell yourself. Don't undervalue yourself from day one. At the same time, don't come out as greedy. Employers don't like that either. Look like you have done your research and say, okay, somebody of my experience, my skill sets within this market, within this sector, within this, earns XYZ, I would be expecting. But also give yourself an opportunity to have the employer go first wherever possible, because they probably have a salary scale. And if they are willing to do that, fine. If they insist that you go, do your research. So that a job that is generally in the market at X shillings per month, you're asking for 1/8 of X. What does that tell the employer about you? You don't understand this position that you're being recruited for. You don't have the skills for it. You're underselling yourself. Do your research and prepare for this particular question. Okay, the other question you should prepare for. Tell me about a mistake that you have made. Prepare for this particular question. Sometimes you'll be asked about this question and you panic so much, you don't know what to say. Why? Have you never made a mistake in your life? You have. Have you never made a mistake in your work environment? You definitely have. Now, what is your employer looking for here, or your interviewer? They are looking to figure out, how do you behave when things don't work out the way they are supposed to work out? And how did you go around that? So what they're looking for is not only the mistake. So if I ask you tell me about a mistake that you made, I am not expecting that 1 hour later you're still telling me about your mistake. No. I want you to tell me your mistake, summarize it, and then tell me what you did about it. I want you to be very clear on how you can solve problems by giving me a specific example of a mistake that you had and how you resolved it. So be very clear that when I'm asking you about a mistake that you've made, I'm also looking for the solution, how you resolved it. And prepare for this. What did you learn? What challenges did this bring out, and how did you resolve this particular issue? The other question that you should prepare for is to be asked, do you have any questions? If the interviewer asks you whether you have questions, there are a number of things you're trying to do here. And depending on how you answer this, you can help yourself or hurt your chances of getting this job. So this is not only an opportunity for you to shine, it is. You've done your research on the company. You can ask some very clever questions. But at the same time, what this also does is give you an opportunity to find out, is this a place you want to be? Remember, the employer is judging whether they want you to come and work with them, but you're also judging, do you want to work for this particular employer? So use that opportunity to ask certain questions. You want to find out, about the responsibilities of the position. You want to find out about the career growth in this position. What are some of the challenges you can expect to face? Use this as an opportunity to shine by having done your research and being very thoughtful about the questions you ask, but also use this as an opportunity for you to determine whether you want to work for this particular company. The other question you should prepare yourself to be asked, whether in this format or not, describe yourself in 3 words. 3 words? Okay, what am I going to say? I am, oh, you've already finished 2 words, eh? You better make the 3rd one good. What are you going to say in the 3rd one that will make it punchy? I am hardworking. Really? I am focused. No, make it good. Think of a really punchy answer that makes your employer think, this is somebody I really want to come and work for me. They are so interesting. So respond to this question in a manner that is so memorable, that is so interesting, that makes the employer want to explore beyond the 3 words. Use words in there that inspire a question. I'm a connector. What is a connector? What do you connect? What is it that makes you a connector, and why is that relevant for me? Yes? So use words that create optimism, that show you as being somebody who is very proactive, that show you as somebody who is a performer, as somebody who is very interesting, and therefore makes the employer want you to come and work for them. Remember, in coming up with your 3 words, the employer wants to understand how your mind works. So put words in there that focus on revealing how your mind works. Is it creativity? Is it curiosity? Are you telling the employer that you're curious? Oh, what does that mean? Yes? Say something that reveals your character. Unrelentingly honest. Okay, give me an example. That leads to something that makes somebody want to ask another question. Tell me, describe yourself in 3 words. Work in progress. Oh, you are a work in progress? What does that mean? Oh, I'm working on this. Right now I'm doing my this, and I've been building on this, and I've been working on... Really? When you're saying something interesting about yourself, remember to make it something that would be relevant for your employer. And how do you do this? By preparing your answer to this question before your interview. Another question you should prepare for: what are your greatest strengths? When you're being asked this, what your employer is looking for: accuracy, relevance, specific, and interesting. Accurate, relevant, specific, and interesting. So don't say anything that you think is a strength that is not relevant. Whatever you're talking about here is not because your employer is just nice and they just want to have a chat. No. They want to see whether you will be a good fit for the company. Now here is another one. Many times your employer will ask you, tell me about your greatest weakness. Prepare. Prepare to speak about your greatest weakness, and speak about it in a manner that you can then quickly, having identified your weakness, tell your employer how you're addressing it. Don't just come with a long list of weaknesses and you leave it there. And the employer is trying to figure out, am I bringing a problem here or a solution? Now here's an interesting gender difference that you'll find in the numerous interviews that I have been privileged to be a part of. Many other times that male candidates cannot think of any weakness, cannot. They will think and they will struggle, and at the end, I can't think of any weakness. I don't have a weakness, really. The fact that you think you don't have a weakness is a weakness in itself. So I urge you, especially the male viewers, please focus. Think about your weaknesses. Ask the people close to you to help you highlight your weaknesses. And when we ask you for a weakness, we want a genuine weakness, not, my weakness is that I'm very hardworking. My weakness is that I pay too much attention to detail. I am a workaholic. No, we want a genuine weakness, not a strength couched as a weakness. Now, for the women, on the other hand, when we ask you for your weaknesses, 3 pages later, you're still giving us your list of weaknesses. No, just be very focused. We are just looking to see, are you personally aware of yourself? And how are you addressing those challenges? So don't go into a whole list of bringing the sky down on yourself. No, that's not what the employer is looking for. Okay. The other thing that I want to mention to you, and I want to end with this, if there is something in your past that you're not very happy with, prepare for it. Your employer may not ask you, but what if they do? Don't go into the interview hoping your employer will not ask. Prepare an answer for that, so that if they do ask you, is there anything in your life you've done? Were you given another chance that you would change? Oh yes, there's a time I did XYZ. It didn't give me the results I anticipated. This is what happened. However, this is what I learned. Next time I have that type of opportunity, this is what I'll do. So what you've done, you've taken a challenge that you had and turned it into a strength by being honest about the challenge, what you learned from it, and what you would do differently given another opportunity. So when you're called for your next interview, remember to do some research. There are some basic questions that you should anticipate you will be asked in one way or another. And by preparing yourself for those questions and being clear on your answers and practicing, it will make you much more confident and polished in that interview, and much more possible for you to be considered as the right fit for the job that the employer is interviewing for. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to receiving your comments, your feedback. Our social media handles are streaming at the bottom of your screen. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.